the alternative of putting a modest amount of money to work in each and every trade is that we can continue to trade and we continue to manifest our skill and accrue further wealth. The difficulty, of course, is that if we put an infinitesimal amount of money into each trade, the return to our capital is insignificant. So we need to find some kind of balance between betting it all and betting something which is trivial and ultimately makes no impact upon our return to capital. So there is actually a function drawn from Gambler's Ruin that allows us to calculate what the probability of obtaining in the theory, infinite wealth depending upon our initial bankroll. And this is what this table represents on the screen at the moment. So if we started out with 1 unit of risk or 1 unit in our bankroll, and we were taking 1 unit of risk, i.e. we were going to take profit when we made 1 unit, or we were going to stop out if we lost 1 unit, even with our 55% chance of winning, we're only 18% to actually clear the trees. In other words, we're 82% to exhaust our bankroll. If we decide that we're going to risk 10% of our bankroll with each trade, we've now increased our probability of obtaining infinite wealth to 86.5%. In other words, we've reduced our prospect of exhausting that bankroll to more like 13.5%. We start to sort of see from this table, perhaps, why there is this accepted, this common wisdom to only bet 2% of your bankroll when we see down the bottom of the table at 1 unit against 1 unit of risk to a 25 unit bankroll. There were actually near 99.5% to remain in business and to continue to make money out of trading. The question of where you wish to sit, in this table is really quite individual and depends upon individual risk preference. But at least now we have some sort of science to reasoning about, in an objective sense, how much we think we should be risking and what the trade-off is in terms of our probability of exhausting our bankroll. And that, I think, is really about it in terms of the science. The fundamental decision from here about, what you want to apply, as I say, is a pure question of utility. Some people may think that it's more important to have a riskier portfolio where the returns to equity are greater. But one thing we have to be clear about, obviously, is that there is that explicit trade-off. The greater the return to equity for a given trading strategy, the greater the probability of blowing up. Just reason your way, I think. Feel free to reason your way through that presentation, and then at least you have an explicit basis for deciding where you want to sit. 25 is, I'm being asked if 25 is 2.5% or 25%. The way in which this is represented in the table is that 25 is your initial bankroll. So in other words, you have 25 units of bankroll and you are taking 1 unit of risk. You're prepared to risk 1 over 25 on each trade. So, 1 over 25 obviously is 4% of your bankroll. So, I wanted to keep it reasonably short. It is a pretty short presentation. It's a pretty short subject. The essence of it is that there is a framework out there to reason with, and I just wanted to present it with you today. Now, I'm going to anticipate one question which is going to come up, which is why, if there's this discussion about infinite wealth, why in reality more people don't achieve it. Well, there are actually probably three problems. One is, not everybody can achieve 55% probability of winning. That's why we work away at this game and try and develop our skills so that we are objectively the minority who are able to achieve that. Second challenge is that this presumes that you can trade at will, that these opportunities set up on a very regular basis, and indeed they may not. The more discriminating the strategy that you employ is, the less frequently it will set up. So there isn't just an infinity of trading opportunities, obviously. And then the third problem, which is the classic rich man's problem, is that as your wealth compounds and you have more and more risk to deploy, you start to crowd the trade, the Warren Buffett problem. So, that is obviously a nice problem to have, but it does exist and explains why in practice people don't go on to make an infinite amount of money out of trading any asset.